Hello, this is my second attempt to do this video. I actually cut it off for some strange reason. Okay, what happened in this video, I've been kind of wrestling with this idea. It's called Black Lives Matter. And what I've been trying to figure out is, what is their goal? What are they trying to do? What is going on with them? One of the reasons why I've been, because for the last 6 or 7 months, they've been everywhere. Black Lives Matter, they're on t-shirts, they're on billboards and all sorts of stuff, bumper stickers and all sorts of stuff. So I'm thinking, oh, that sounds pretty cool. Black lives do matter. Guess what? Black lives do matter. Then again, so does white lives, so does Asians, all sorts of, everybody lives matter. Now you've seen people say blue lives matter, green lives matter, Smurfs lives matter, probably. Even Pokemon lives matter. Who knows? Maybe that's what's going on. But anyway. So I digress. So I started looking around here. They went gangbusters, especially going to these conventions and stuff like that. Busting into talking about Black Lives Matter. Of course, they're getting kicked out because they're basically not doing the right thing and doing this. So I'm thinking, how come they can't? What is going on with these guys? So you know what? I decided to do some research. And so what happened is I did some research on Black Lives Matter. And some of the things it sounded okay. Then again, after I started reading it a little bit, I was like, "Huh? What?" Kind of boggled my mind. So let me read some of this for you. Let me read. Now it doesn't matter what I mean by this. It doesn't matter who came up with this movement. Whoever came up with this, it doesn't matter what it was originally. But this is what they're talking about. Okay. Okay, what happened? They said it was created after Trayvon Martin's murder. Okay, which is good. Okay, that's no big deal. Not a problem. They said about they're basically against anti-black racism that permeates through our society. Black Lives Matter is a unique contribution that goes beyond extrajudicial killings of black people by police and vigilantes. Okay. It calls on black people to love black, live black, and buy black. Okay, so basically, what does that mean? To me, that sounds like this is a pro-black movement, which is not a big idea. It's not a big problem, except for it sounds somewhat similar to another group, which is a pro-white movement. Sounds similar. What I mean, it sounds similar. I mean, it's totally different? Totally different from that other group, but if you by reading that what I'm just read, it sounds somewhat similar to it. So, in my opinion, you should distance yourself away from that. I mean, it was one of those kind of things of black nationalism back in the early '60s, early '70s, or something like that. I can't remember. When that was going to, you know. But anyway, now what happened is it said, keeping straight cis black men in the front of the movement while our sisters, queers, and trans and disabled folk take up roles in the background or not at all. So that means that straight black men matters more. Everybody else doesn't matter as much. That sounds somewhat elitist, very misogynistic, almost misogynistic in the way how it sounds. Almost. When you basically with that phrase, kind of when I'm reading about this, it says that black men are at the forefront of this movement, keeping black men at the forefront of this movement, while everybody else takes a back seat. So to me, that sounds somewhat elitist. Okay. Black lives affirm the lives of black, queer, and trans folks, disabled folks, black undocumented folks with records, women, and all black lives along the gender sector. It's centered on those who've been marginalized within the black liberation movements. It is a tactic to rebuild the black liberation movement. Okay, now that means you understand, you know they exist, but they don't matter as much as regular black men. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, I'm not exactly sure if that's what you truly meant, but that's what it sounds like to me. To me, that sounds like something that's really, really wrong. Because if Black Lives Matter, that means every black life. Man, woman, and child. It matters. It matters just as much as everybody else. Okay? But the way how this sounds, it doesn't sound like that. And what happens is a lot of young people are going along with this. Now, whether or not they actually understand what the wording means and everything else, but that's what it sounds like to me. If I'm wrong, let me know. Explain it. Or go to the website and clarify what you mean by this. Because the way how this sounds to me, it sounds like you're no different than everybody else in terms of so-called racism or elitism. Okay? When we say Black Lives Matter, we are broadening the conversation around state violence, to include all of the ways in which black people are intentionally left powerless at the hands of the state. You mean like federal government or local state governments? Okay. We are talking about ways in which black lives are deprived of our basic human rights or dignity. Okay. And I'm like, okay, fine. The only people who could take away your dignity is you let them do it, as far as I know. That's what my father taught me. My father taught me that if you let somebody do that to you, then you gave them power to do that. That's the kind of lesson that he taught me. Okay? So how black poverty and genocide is state violence. Well, black poverty and genocide, well, okay, poverty, there is a lot of poverty in African American communities. That is absolutely true. But then again, how many people in the African American community are trying to work? Or are you talking about a certain amount of African American people? Because a lot of African Americans actually do work, they have jobs. Okay? And there's a lot of us, or African American people, or black people, or whatever you want to call us, that don't have jobs and they live off of welfare. Okay? And a lot of the times, the reason why a lot of us, either one, they can't find something to support themselves, or they don't want to. Okay? How 2.8 million black people are locked in cages in this country is state violence. From what I understand about that point, people are locked up for no apparent reason. But if you kill someone, you're going to jail and you're going to get locked up. Every man, woman, and child, every man and woman has an idea of what's right and what's wrong. So if you don't want to do what's right and what's wrong, you're going to risk going to jail. This one guy told me years ago, he says, Art, I could either you could hit the books, go to school, get yourself a good job, be a productive member of society. Or I could hook you up with some people I know who deals in drugs and stuff like that, gives the easy way out. But the problem is that you might get caught and you might die. Or you might be in jail forever. Guess which one I chose? I chose the book learning. Some other people don't do that. Some people didn't even want to finish school because they think it's stupid. So what happens if you go to jail, that's on you. I got busted for drunk driving. Yeah, because I drove home drunk. Yeah, I accepted that responsibility. But there's a lot of people out there who goes in and out of jail because, one, they feel like they can't get caught, so they go gangbanging or selling drugs and stuff like that, but they break the law. And then you want to say this is state violence? Is that so? Whose fault is that? Here's a question: the responsibility of some people, is it because of their ethnicity, or is it because of that's what happens, or is it themselves? How black women bearing the burden of relentless assault on our children and our families is state violence. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. Clarify that, please. This one, how black, queer, and trans folks bear a unique burden from a patriarchal society that disposes us like garbage and simultaneously fetishizes us and profit off of us, and that is state violence. So, in other words, if you're queer and trans, You're destroying the erosion of society. So guess what? That you sound like the Republican. That remark right there sounds like a standard Republican or conservative viewpoint. If you're very conservative or something like that, that's what it sounds like. So basically, you're sounding just like something that you're trying to say you're not. And you say that people people profit from us. Well, here's a question: what's the most dominant form of music right now? It's called hip hop. But guess what? Everybody's listening to hip hop now. Is that our fault? No. Is that what the society says this was popular? I don't know. They benefited from us? Okay, fine. All right. How 500,000 black people in the U.S. are undocumented immigrants and regulated to shadows. Okay, this one is kind of simpler. One, if you come into the country illegally, you're going to be undocumented. You're supposed to come in here. You're supposed to come to our country legally, but a lot of people have not. So guess what? What society says is that get legal. Okay. So if you're not legal and you're undocumented, technically you're breaking our laws. Okay? Simple as that. How black girls are used as negotiating chips during times of conflict and war. Explain that one, please. That one, I need some explanation. How black folks living with disabilities and different abilities bear the burden of state-sponsored Darwinian experiments that attempt to squeeze us into boxes of normality defined by white supremacy, and that is state violence. Well, there's a lot of African American people with disabilities. Okay? Some are physical, some are mental. And they get help from the government, either federal or state or a combination of both. Now, the problem is there's a lot of people who are, quote unquote, milking the system. Okay, so, Black Lives Matter is working hard for a world where black lives are no longer systematically and intentionally targeted for demise. We affirm our contribution to this society and our humanity and our resilience in the face of deadly oppression. We have put our sweat, equity, and love for black people into creating a political project, taking the hashtag off of social media and into the street. The call for Black Lives to Matter is a rallying cry for all black lives striving for liberation. Okay. Wow. That is a lot. That is a lot. Okay. That's what I read from that website. The next video, because I'm running out of time for this one, is going to talk about what I'm thinking about them. Okay? I'll see you soon.